it was quite revealing, as in trying to shield the vice president against what we are seeing now, and starting from probably where we were not too much interested in, though it was important, about the security of the territory and the likes, and zooming in on probably what we had serious interest in, that is the state of the economy properly, as regarding the macroeconomic indicators.
But that is not to belittle the fact that our security in terms of the country itself is safe. It is very important.
Yes, what I mean is that it is very important, but we did not have much interest in that.
But I'm saying that we should, because we must be happy that all is well, with the nation in terms of security. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
I just don't want us to belittle it.
It is very, very important.
Yes, but please go ahead.
So, and obviously, would have thought that he would have started with the inflation and the likes, but that is where he decided to pick it up from. And it wasn't Ghana alone. He was talking about the sub-region and the likes. It was okay for me, but I know that obviously that is not where people were eagerly wanting to hear.
That I agree with you.
And then, like you were saying, there were some things we were expecting him to touch on. He never did, like the unemployment trends, and then some politics comparing 2016, 2012, 2016 Dumso to the stability of electricity we have now, and the hope to export electricity in the future.
Now, indeed, we're giving some power to La Côte d'Ivoire, but I'm told that in the past few months we've not been able to do that because we don't have enough to be giving out. We'll be talking about that in a bit. But again, if you listen carefully to the president's presentation yesterday, absent was the proverbial Russia-Ukraine, factor as to what has, hit our economy and all that. I didn't hear it. I don't know about you, but did you hear anything about Russia-Ukraine war being blamed for where we are right now?
No, he didn't. And for me, I think it was just good that he didn't touch on that one, because it's been like that for a long time. Every day, COVID-19, Russia-Ukraine war. But then you would also realize that 2022, what we saw in 2022, it would have been very difficult for him to have brought in Russia and then COVID. The reality is that 2021 was even better than 2022. So if 2021 was better than 2022, how then do you justify what we saw in 2022 with those things, when 2021, even 2020 looked quite better than 2022? 2022, in my view, is a very dark year in the history of Ghana over the past decade. All right, so
based on what I said, when you say it's a dark year, 2022, what exactly are you basing your argument on?
Look, if you look at our macroeconomic indicators in 2022, we ended with inflation of about 54.3%. Policy rate shot up to about 30%. If you look at return on equity for our banks, most of them were negatives, because we did domestic debt exchange and the likes. All right. So you realize we were even defaulting. So 2022 as a year in the life of Ghana was that terrible? Worse than 2021, and even in my view, 2020. So if we are talking about 2023, 2024, and you want to blame it on COVID and Russian-Ukraine war, if you really understand economics, it wouldn't make sense. And I think that they did not manage the economy well, especially given the fact that they did excessive monetary financing. And I am sure they advised themselves and decided not to bring that on board. Because for me, it would have been very surprising if we are talking about the state of the economy now, and you are still talking about COVID. I'll be surprised.
Now, many people were of the view, before the whole, presentation or the SONA was presented to Ghanaians, many people were expecting that, he would touch on some areas and even to some extent mention some of the things that, the Iranian mate, the flag bearer and his vice president has, touched on. The fact that we're going to do with the betting taxes and, e-levies and all that. He accepted blame for the state we are in. And if I would read that portion, he says, Mr. Speaker, the president and his appointees are not universally loved, and it will be strange and unproductive if they were. it is probably worthwhile making what I consider to be important observations at this stage on some of the issues in our public discourse in the lead up to the elections for a new president. Under the Constitution, the executive power of the state is vested in the President of the Republic. He or she is the executive. There's no ambiguity about where the buck stops. When it comes to responsibility for what happens in the government, it stops with the president. He or she has ultimate responsibility. It will be unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers and refuse the advice of his officials. But the fact remains that the president holds the executive power. So it says that it will be unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers, so which means that you would fall on the advice of the ministers that you have appointed, your vice president and all that. So if indeed you take their advice and you come and tell us that you're taking the blame and all that, what does that say to you? Is it to shield Bawumia or to expose Bawumia? Because the Bawumia factor plays a critical role. Yes. He has